Mary had a little lamb.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey! It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Do you believe that Democrats are committed to Republicans signing on to this, or do you think that there's going to be, in the end, an effort to go down the reconciliation road with your colleague from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, perhaps agreeing to that?
You know, I think that the reconciliation, which will be massive tax hikes on middle Americans, on farmers, on small businesses, is where they're going to go. And they're going to include human infrastructure, massive electric vehicle vouchers, other extraneous, what I think, to a physical core infrastructure bill will be. I expect that's the direction that they will go in July. But I'm sure that they're going to be working forward with the group.
I hope so. She's all over the place, okay? That's Shelley Moore Capito saying, they're going to raise taxes on it. Now, Joe Biden is not going to raise taxes on anybody making less than $400,000 a year. That is not going to happen. What we are talking about is paying for a massive investment in infrastructure. Yes, human beings, that live here in this here country, getting childcare so they can go to work. Okay, getting vouchers so that we can get ourselves off of fossil fuel and buy an electric vehicle. Building the electrical charging stations that will be needed in order for us to have a departure from, let's say, Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? So she's just sitting there lying, they're going to raise tax. No, reconciliation was the only true thing she said there. Listen, we've been all about reconciliation since they started to show you who they were. Listen, you know what they did last night? You know what happened last night? Now, the House is not in session. The House is in recess. The Senate is in session. So that might make you feel like your government is actually doing something, but it isn't. Okay, it isn't. Last night, you had a simple little piece of legislation that at least deserves to be debated. That's all. Called the Paycheck Fairness Protection Act. You know what that would do? It would allow you, when you are interviewing for a position, to ask for the historical pay for that position. Yeah, that's what that would actually allow for an employer to have to provide to you. Because right now, what they say to you when you find out, you remember Lilly Ledbetter? Lilly Ledbetter worked at a company for years and years and years, and then found out that she was making a whole lot less than her male equivalent, her male counterparts, right? And so we got the Lilly Ledbetter Paycheck Protection Act out of the Obama administration. This builds on that, and this would say that an employer can't just sit there and say, well, the reason why you're making less is because you're a terrible negotiator. Why? You're a Shelley Moore Capito. See what I mean? You're just really bad at it. So instead of you having to take them at their word, or instead of you having to fight it on the back end and come out of pocket and hire a lawyer and do all the things Lilly Ledbetter had to do, this particular Paycheck Protection Act would have had in it your ability to say, like most people, when they interview for a job now, they're doing it online or they're putting a resume in. You can now, according to this piece of legislation, not now, because last night the Republicans blocked it. They blocked it. They didn't vote for it. They didn't vote against it. They just said, you don't have 60 votes. We're not discussing it. I mean, what kind of a person is it? This is like a bad marriage. I don't want to talk about it. This is not a good time for me. When is a good time for you? They never have a good time to discuss, right? And then, of course, you have Joe Manchin, her counterpart, who's running around saying things like, yeah, well, it's got to be bipartisan, right? You got to get bipartisan buy-in and blah, blah, blah. Why? Because he says he wants the debate. But they won't even allow the debate. Okay, so the Paycheck Protection Act failed. It didn't fail. Nobody voted against it. They refused to debate it. They just killed the possibility of debate about whether or not, as a working person, as a person applying for a position, you would have the ability to ask for the historical pay for that position, so that they couldn't then turn around and say, oh, well, you were a terrible negotiator and that's why you're making half of what this job was really paying. And they just killed debate on it. That's it. Now the infrastructure package is dead. We know that they killed debate on the January 6th commission, okay? The next one that they're going to kill debate on is the voting rights, the S1, right? That package. I mean, this is so sick and so obstructionist and so wrong. And they keep on invoking bipartisanship, bipartisan. Listen, the voting laws are changing based on a single party's preference to restrict voting. Right? Wherever there's a Republican legislature, you're having Republicans pass and sign into law bills restricting the number of days you could vote, the method by which you can vote, drop boxes being available, purging voter rolls. H.R. 1 is an awesome bill in that it ends gerrymandering. It ends, all kinds of, Oh, and you want to hear this story? I haven't heard anybody tell you this story. And this story to me is like, this is the oozy pussy, the crotted gravy sore that is ruining our democracy. This is the crux of the biscuit, as they say. Ted Cruz. Oh, yeah. Check this out. This is an amazingly sick and twisted thing. Ted Cruz sued the Federal Election Commission, a defanged, pointless, powerless agency in the federal government, okay? He sued the Federal Election Commission about campaign contributions, okay, to guarantee a foolproof bribery scheme. And in the Circuit Court, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, Ted Cruz won. He won. What did he win? Okay, here's the scenario now. A member of Congress is running for re-election. The member raises $6 million for his campaign on Election Day. But he wants to spend more. So he lends his campaign $1 million from his personal funds. After he wins election, he goes back to the donors and he says to the donors who contributed money, I want you to contribute to me personally now so I can pay off the loan. He won that court case. So now, dollar for dollar, every post-election contribution that a contributor makes after they're sure that their candidate won can go directly to the congressman's personal bank account. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? The potential for corruption? Nah. No. Oh, no.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
H.R. 1 is one of the most assertive bills that we have to tackle dark money in politics. And so there are two very key components in H.R. 1 in the For the People Act. One is a forceful and very strong provisions and laws to combat outright voter suppression. And these are proposals, and if passed, it would essentially preempt changes to state law. So it would protect people's actual right to vote. But the other aspect of this is that H.R. 1 stands up against lobbyists and dark money. And I would reckon to think that this is probably just as much a part of Joe Manchin's calculus as anything else. Because when it comes to this bipartisan argument, I got to tell you, I don't buy it. Because Joe Manchin has voted for bills that have not been bipartisan before. Look at the American Rescue Plan. So this is not just about bipartisanship. This is, I think, because you look at the Koch brothers and you look at, organizations like the Heritage Foundation and conservative lobby groups that are doing a victory lap, claiming victory over the fact that Manchin refuses to change on the filibuster. And I think that these two things are very closely intertwined. And I think that there's a desire to make this just about protecting the franchise, but protecting our democracy is also about making sure that we give lobbyists and dark money groups, which are funding these attacks on the right to vote, the boot. But, corporate money has a very, very tight grip on both parties. And I think that has to do with the calculus in this situation that people aren't really discussing enough.
She is so right. This is what we were talking about with you yesterday about how Joe Manchin, Heritage Action, Americans for Prosperity, all Koch brothers organizations, ALEC, etc., are purchasing Congress members, purchasing senators, and purchasing everything, every piece of legislation, writing it, giving people talking points to sell it in order to advance their agendas. That is, and so when I tell you that Ted Cruz just won a case where dark money is now going to go directly to members of the House and Senate, directly into their bank accounts, which is illegal right now in this country. How in the world did this court say this is free speech? I mean, that's what they said. This is free speech. And they put a very strict requirement on their opinion. They said that if you couldn't prove corruption would happen for sure, then they had to say it was still part of free speech. And they took the limits off what you could now give personally to a senator, which post-election, post-election, you're talking about political action committees now being able to give more than $250,000 after an election directly to a senator that won, directly to a Congress member that won, who now says, but I borrowed my own money so I could buy TV ads, right? Because that's what the money is for. So I could buy TV ads so I could win, and now I'm in debt and I need this political action committee, dark money, to repay me, and I need that money to go directly into my personal bank account. So the court said, well, it can't go directly into your personal bank account. It has to go into your campaign bank account, and then you could take it from and put it into your personal bank account. Can you believe this? This is such a workaround to bribery, to outright bribery. If we wanted Congress people to get gifts, we would write laws that say you can give gifts to congressmen. Right now, it's illegal to give gifts, right? But this is a beautiful workaround to make legal all kinds of bribery. All kinds of bribery. I mean, this used to be flatly prohibited in this country. And now the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals says $250,000 in post-election payoffs is not even enough, and that the amount should be unlimited. Post-election payoffs are protected speech under the First Amendment. How did they get there? High scrutiny, strict scrutiny, okay? They said that if there's a strong likelihood that it would lead to corruption, and you had to prove that it did already lead to corruption, so what are they requiring? They're requiring that the Political Action Committee actually gets caught saying Okay, so now I'm giving you $1 million personally, Senator, and I want you to do this. Now, unless they say those words, the court says it's not bribery. It's not bribery. So instead, the PAC can say, we wrote these talking points and we're just going to leave them with you, with a check for $1 million. Can you believe this? This is going completely in the wrong direction. And this is why we need H.R. 1, which has public financing of campaigns in it, so that this will all come to an end after 2,000 years. You know what I'm saying? So now you could just go wink, wink, nod, nod. I need you to do that thing. I need you to do that thing. And if you say, I need you to do that thing, and you give somebody $1 million, it's just a wink and a nod. And so, there's no quid pro quo. This is bribery. And if you thought Citizens United was bad, we've been living with Citizens United since 2009. The quality of our politics has gone through the floor, okay? We have gone so off the rails with regard to democracy itself, okay? Everything is for sale, including the ability to gerrymander, including the Republican legislatures getting to decide whether to throw out the results of the election that they were on the ballot for because they didn't like the result. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So you're going to say to me, so what do we do? What do we do? And I'm telling you right freaking now, that's why you need H.R. 1. That's why we need the For the People Act. It actually makes public financing paid for by corporate fines that have been adjudicated against a corporation for, giving you cancer or dumping into your water. That's how elections should be paid for, right? No. Since 2009, since Citizens United, the federal courts have bent over backwards to protect money in politics as being free speech. I'm sorry, corporations are not... And we also, we need H.R. 1, and then we need to amend our freaking Constitution. This is crazy.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
These negotiations cannot go on and on and on. In my own view, do I believe that we will have 10 Republican votes to do something significant for physical infrastructure, for climate, for human infrastructure, for healthcare, for education? No, I don't.
Right.
So I do want to tell you, maybe it'll make you feel a little bit better, that as we speak, we are working hard on a major reconciliation bill, which would combine both Biden's physical infrastructure plans as well as family plan, the human infrastructure as well. We're working on it right now.
Right. Thank God. Honestly, the idea that you could work with these Republicans who are completely owned, who are completely bought and paid for, Joe Manchin included, is a ridiculous notion. You know what they're working on? They're working on things like bribery, making it legal. They're working on things like no Paycheck Fairness Protection Act. They're working on things like busting unions. They're working on things like fossil fuel subsidies, more money to, fossil fuels, no money for, emerging technology. I mean, they're so sad. They're just so sad. And they're so obvious. And to think that we were going to get I never thought we were going to get a deal with Shelley Moore Capito, and neither did Mitch McConnell, and that's why he gave her the job, right? To go pretend, we're sending somebody who's like the worst. Well, look at West Virginia, Mr. Minority Leader. Look at West Virginia. Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's a race to the bottom. You know what I mean? Honestly, we're going to have to just do stuff by ourselves for all of us. And you know what's going to happen. The Republicans are going to take credit at the end. just like they did for the COVID relief package, right? They voted. No one voted for it. No Republican voted for that. No Republican voted for the ACA back in the day. No Republicans vote for anything for you ever. They only ever vote for their corporate masters and for the very wealthy who are constantly giving money to them through their lobbyists and directly now to get even more loopholes in the tax code, because you heard the news. They don't pay, and it's not news. I mean, we've all known for the longest time that capital gains are taxed at a much lower rate than work is. That, Republicans do not value work. They lie about the working man and they're on the side. They are not. They're on the side of the billionaire hedge fund manager. They're on the side of loopholes in the tax code. I can't tell you how many people are up on Capitol Hill right now, having a fundraiser for this one or this one or that one or this one so that they can get another loophole into the tax code. Seriously, that's it. That's what goes on every single day. And one party is responsive to it, and one party wants to make it even more lucrative to be a senator, more lucrative to be a winning candidate, right? It is such a race to the bottom. Kamala Harris is in Central America, and she's telling Central Americans, help is on the way, hope is on the way. We have to root out corruption. We're going to look more like that than they are going to look like what you think democracy is. We're going to look more like them. Corruption is everywhere. Everywhere. The thing about the United States is supposedly we root it out and we figure out what's wrong and we right it. We right it. Not anymore. Not anymore. Mark in New York.
Hey, how you doing, Randy?
Hi.
Yeah, I've been listening to since Air America, but this is my first time ever calling.
Oh.
Ooh, thank you.
You're welcome.
As I told the screener, the reason why I'm calling is that these recent exposures or about the billionaires not paying any income tax. I'm wondering if this has been released as a convenience to cloud, any wrongdoing by the previous administration. Because they keep saying how the various donations, not donations, but the income tax is based on income. So if they're making money based on their earnings or their investments, I mean, they basically say that it's all legal what the billionaires are doing. So why expose it now? And also, they don't know why it got leaked. So I was just wondering what your feel might be in relation to that. Sorry for being kind of incoherent.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a question in there? I mean, really, is there a question?
Yes. Do you think there might be something nefarious behind the release of these records now?
No. I mean, obviously, the Justice Department is going to look into how did these come out of the IRS. I mean, the taxpayers have to be protected, and they're going to make a big stink out of not that the tax code is so unequal, and not that wealth is preferred over earnings, over work, over labor, which we all know, right? And the only reason why this came out now is because ProPublica actually got all these tax records from the IRS, and they worked on this story very hard for a really long time, and they put it out once it was in a format that would make sense to us and show us the pattern and the practice of cheating, which is legal in this country, just like bribery is now legal in this country, right? So that's the only reason why the story came out now.
Okay, all right. I just thought maybe sometimes when you see one issue coming up, you always hear like Fox News brings out some other story that has totally nothing to do with the issue. So to take the crowd, the arena where nobody knows what to think anymore. And that's why I was thinking that there might be something nefarious about the release. That's all.
No.
Okay. Sorry.
No, I don't think there's anything nefarious about the release. What is nefarious is how did the records get to ProPublica's journalists? And the only reason why the story came out now is because they've been working on this story for a really long time. And they got these tax documents in their raw form, right? So when you're talking about, let's say Warren Buffett's taxes or Jeff Bezos' taxes or, who else's did they get? Any very, very, very wealthy person's taxes. You're talking thousands of pages, right? You're talking about a lot of pages of returns. So they had to go through all of that and make sense out of it and then put it out in such a way that we could see a pattern in it. We could understand it. We could see what they were trying to educate us about, show us, Now, what's the reaction from the moneyed elite inside the government? Well, we have to figure out where the leak came from. Nobody's too concerned about the fact that if you work for a living, you don't have these tools at your disposal. You're making a paycheck, and every week or bi-week that you get paid, your taxes are coming right out of that paycheck. Rich people don't experience that. And at the end, Jeff Bezos even took the $4,000 child tax credit because they take everything that's available to them, okay? Everything. There's nothing illegal in these documents that ProPublica, by the way, if you want to read it, it's in today's homework, but I'm warning you right now, it's 33 pages, the report from ProPublica. It's 33 pages. And if you sat and read it, okay, all that you would learn is that wealth is not taxed in this country, work is. So that's what's in there. Now, the reaction to it is, wait a minute. Somebody at the IRS gave these documents over to a journalist. That's illegal. The tax code is the legal way for people to rip off their own government. But the showing of those tax documents, that's the illegal thing. That's the truth. That's what's going on with that story. Jeffrey in L.A.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
My question is why, and I know the answer, but I wanted to ask you in a different way, is that why can't the Democrats use the Republicans' tricks on them? And I know that they have like a moral compass and they don't want to do these things that they do, but sort of like to call them out and show like, well, look, this is what you're doing to us. Stop doing it. It's like not really going through with what they're trying to propose, but just pointing it out.
Well, for starters, it's because the billionaire money backs the Republicans, and the Republicans have a greater platform. And then you look at media. Media is, just into, Republican anger. It makes money for them. So what are the Democrats supposed to do that's equal to what the billionaire money buys?
Right. I'm just saying, like, propose something that would disenfranchise Republican voters, and then, like, look what they're doing to us, and then, no, we don't want to do it. But
why would we need to? There's hardly any of them.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Never before seen IRS files obtained by ProPublica reveal just how little our country's riches are paying in taxes. Take Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man. In 2007, the multi-billionaire did not pay a penny in federal income taxes. He did it again in 2011. One year, he even claimed a $4,000 child credit. Tesla founder Elon Musk, the second richest person in the world, also did not pay any federal income taxes in 2018. Michael Bloomberg has done the same in recent years. And the years when they did pay taxes, they were staggeringly low. From 2014 to 2018, the 25 wealthiest Americans saw their worth rise a collective $401 billion. They paid a total of $13.6 billion in federal income taxes in those 5 years, which sounds like a lot, but only amounts to a true true tax rate of 3.4%. The worst culprit, Warren Buffett, who paid a true tax rate of 0.1%, or less than 10 cents for every $100 he added to his wealth.
So, you understand that this is a country that pays billionaires to be billionaires. And, listen, that's where the money is. That's where the money goes. We don't have, the Koch brothers. Let's just look at the Koch brothers, okay? They have Americans for Prosperity. They have ALEC. They have Heritage. They have Heritage Action. Fox News, OAN, Newsmax. I mean, almost every single solitary show on talk radio, if anybody's still listening to radio, all you're going to get there in the way of political discussion is going to be conservative outrage and anger and racism and hatred and just keeping the base ginned up, just keeping the base angry, just keeping the base flailing and keeping the base from looking at the actual policies of the party that they think is on their side. I mean, it's just such a ruse. It's such a racket. I can't even explain to you how, and very, very wealthy Democrats, they very rarely support media. Okay. They very rarely pony up. They very rarely, invest in it. We don't have a Heritage Foundation. We don't have Heritage Action and Americans for Prosperity and Freedom Works and, no. And that's why the media is, all theirs, because they pay. They pay. The wealthiest Americans have had this deal for a really long time, and it's only getting worse. And that's why we have income inequality, because most Americans work for a living, okay? And when you work for a living, you get taxed on the earnings. But wealthy people don't earn. Wealthy people either inherit or they gain. They live off gains that their wealth is making, right? And that isn't taxed in the same way. It just isn't. Now, that's why the Democrats' idea of a wealth tax, Elizabeth Warren's idea of a wealth tax, or Joe Biden's idea of increasing the tax rate for capital gains or increasing the tax rate on the richest, corporations in this country, or even having an alternative minimum tax so that if you don't earn through labor and you only gain through investment, that if your total at the end is 3% or 0.1% or 10 cents, or 1 penny on every $100, then you have to pay an alternative minimum tax. These are the ideas Democrats have. Do you really think that the big money is all about that? They talk a good game. Warren Buffett, he says, oh, yeah, I want to pay more. And over there, you have this one that says, oh, this is wrong, but I'm only doing what's legal. And then when Donald Trump stands up there and he only pays $750 in federal taxes, his freaking universe of haters actually say, it's because he's smart. It's not because he's smart. It's because it's rigged. It's rigged. That's where the real rigging is. The real rigging is in the drawing of maps about, district maps. The real rigging is the gerrymander. The real rigging is all these Republican, legislatures passing suppression laws. And the real rigging, where the rubber meets the road rigging, meaning why do they rig the other things? They rig it so that they could have a rigged tax system. This is exactly the kind of corruption that we say we're rooting out in Guatemala, in Honduras, in El Salvador, right? This is the kind of corruption that we say, oh, well, politicians shouldn't get to pick who wins an election. The people do. The people should. Ha ha ha. I'm telling you, we're ending up like that, like more like that than we are like, they're ending up like us. And by the way, the reason why they in Central America are so chaotic and so poor and so completely anti-democratic is because we keep overthrowing their governments, all in the name of trade. Yeah, we overthrow their governments. We didn't do it, but Honduras actually had a president. His name was Zelaya, okay? And President Zelaya was all pro-union and anti-corruption and all these things. Well, he wanted a poll to go on the ballot asking people if they were willing to rewrite the Constitution of Honduras. It wasn't anything that would have changed any law or anything in the Constitution. It was just to ask the people when they voted, how did they feel about changing their Constitution? The military in Honduras decided that's not going to happen. And in the middle of the night, he was literally in his pajamas. They ran him out of town, and they made him leave, and he went to Costa Rica in his pajamas. So what did the American government say? Well, at first, the American government was outraged. Outraged, I tell you. That was the Obama, Hillary Clinton Secretary of State era. And then Hillary realized, oh, well, if we say it was a military coup, which it was, if we say it was a military coup, then we won't be able to send aid to Honduras. And she had to figure out whether or not, aid to Honduras was in the best interest of the United States or was denying a military coup in the best interest of the United States. And guess which one she chose? Guess. So she denied that there was a military coup in Honduras. But there was a military coup in Honduras. You see what I mean? And that's the kind of crap that could happen here. And that's why I keep saying we're going to look more like them than they are going to look like us. And it was all because he was pro-union. It was all because he wanted to raise wages. And, in Honduras, basically, they do textile. They sew. They make textiles. I mean, it's just this whole system of the money gets to say, this whole system of we could bribe the politicians, we can rig elections, we can... after somebody wins and we know that they've won, we can then actually gift them more than $250,000 for their own personal bank account. I mean, the idea that that's the road that the Republicans are choosing for this here country should scare the bejesus out of every single person that's listening. And the moneyed Democrats, the moneyed elite, the people who have experienced the American dream in this country, to stay quiet or to feign ignorance or to be ignorant at this moment in time is unforgivable. Unforgivable, because it's on. It is on. There is a full attack on our democracy. I mean, a full attack to where the you look at Central America, you look at Honduras, you look at El Salvador, you say, oh, they're so corrupt. They're so, how does it become like that? How does it become like that? Money. It's all about money. So down there, the people with money are the drug dealers. They're the cartels, okay? That's who makes money down there. Here, it's the corporate elite. Here, we have billionaires that just get richer and richer every single year and pay less and less. And you know what? They're used to it. They're used to it. And they want more of it. And you have politicians that want their piece too. So we're becoming like a mafia state. Our whole entire system is becoming one giant RICO organization.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
It is time for a wealth tax in America. I want to remind everybody what the wealth tax is. It is a tax on the fortunes above $50 million. In other words, your first $50 million is free and clear, but your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pay 2 cents. And 2 cents on every dollar after that until you hit $1 billion. When you hit $1 billion, you got to pay a few cents more.
Oh, horror. Yeah, this is the kind of solution that freaks out big money. Freaks them out. And so what do they do? What do? How do they talk to a working person, and how do they get them to care about fortunes of 50 million or more? How do they get them to care? Social issues. Race, abortion. Oh, that plays all the time in Peoria. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And the social issues that you grapple with, they don't need to be legislated. In a free country, you can make up your own damn mind about where you want to live, about whether or not you're going to have a baby or you're going to have an abortion. I'm having one right now. You see what I mean? It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And this is what they do. This is what Republicans do. And they've got an enormous amount of money backing that tactic. That's why Fox News will sit there and talk about Mr. Potato Head for weeks, or Dr. Seuss. And even the basis of the story was false and fake. Okay, it was the Seuss family that wanted to pull some books. It had nothing to do with cancel culture. That's another famous one, right? They just, they literally are getting their talking points from the Koch brothers, from the billionaire class in this country, who is saying, look, take this trick and play it again. Play it again on these people over and over. Because right now we're lobbying for another tax loophole. This time we want carried interest. Okay, what's that? Well, that means that whatever I made on interest this year, I don't have to pay this year in taxes. I can carry it over the next year. And then the year after that, I carry it over into the year. See, all to avoid paying for anything in this country, including broadband and roads and bridges, which, by the way, corporate money uses much more than you do. But the wealthy, the idea that this story, look, the story came out because it's a real story. It's a true story. And it's never, ever wrong to point out that this country's tax code is rigged against you. That's never wrong. I don't even know why that question came up. I thought that was very weird, Mark. It's never wrong to talk about why we have such vast inequality in this country and how to fix it. You know, you got many ideas out there and they're all, worth debating, but the Republicans kill debate. They don't want you to hear the debate. Know why? They don't have a side that they can sell to you when it comes to income inequality and the rich not paying anything. They don't have a good side. There is no way to sell that to you. So instead, they sell you on, things that don't matter at all. Like reproductive rights of young women. Really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what decision somebody makes about when to start a family, does it? I mean, if it does, then you're a freaking Chinese communist, because they care about that. In a free country, we don't care about, personal decisions having to do with personal health or if you're able to raise a child successfully. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. Like, they love this fetus issue. They don't love the child issue. They don't want to talk about education or health care for children. No. They don't want to talk about safety for children. They see children sleeping on the street. In this here country, in the richest country in the world, we have children sleeping on the street. They don't want to talk about that. Charlie in New Jersey.
Hi, Randy. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God. Okay, this is my first time calling into a podcast show. Okay. Okay. Be real with me. Are we staring at the end of Roe v. Wade this fall?
I don't know. It just depends on how many people are going to go down Amy COVID Barrett's, road. I don't know. It's hard to say what they'll say.
I mean,
I have no experience with this court. You know what I mean? We have this new court with, Kavanaugh and Amy COVID Barrett. And, we got some real weirdos. You got your Gorsuch over there. Who knows what they're going to say about privacy? And that is the issue. The issue in Roe v. Wade is privacy. Whether or not women are entitled to have privacy in their medical decisions. That's the Roe v. Wade question.
Yeah, sounds like Republicans only want privacy for corporations, not middle class.
Exactly. Middle class. Forget middle class. I mean, you're telling me that through Donald Trump's life, he never got a woman pregnant and that he didn't want that child. And so, he didn't hand her a couple of $1,000s and tell her to go somewhere. No, I mean, this is just ridiculous. It has nothing to do with anything except privacy. And the only reason why this is an issue 40, 50 years after the Supreme Court ruled that we have a right to privacy as women, as people, we have a right to privacy, is because it's a good performer. It divides this country.
Yeah, the hypocrisy is through the roof. If it does get overturned, what future does abortion rights have?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? If it gets overturned in the fall, do you have any idea? Remember the Women's March after Trump got elected? That's going to look like nothing. That's going to look like a day in my backyard. Like a little pool party. That every woman and every man that loves her will be out on the street. It is such an amazing motivator to vote. So that's what I think happens if, all of a sudden the Supreme Court says, no more, you have no control over your reproductive life? Really?
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm not even
scared.
A woman.
Listen, we have. Listen, in my lifetime, and I'm a bitter old bitch, okay? But in my lifetime, it's never been a question. So can you imagine everyone younger than me all of a sudden being that now your reproductive rights belong to to Uncle Sam? He's going to be all up in there. I just can't even imagine what that would do to women and men across this country, to have that taken away from them. Holy crap, that doesn't fly.
I think probably bluer states will step in and help, but for red states,
no, it doesn't work like that. Federal is federal, okay? You have a federal ban. No states get to say anything different than what the feds say. It doesn't work like that. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about the Supreme Court of the United States of America taking a right away. Oh, my God.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Summer pledge drive. That's where we are right now, right in the middle of it, in the summer heat wave. Everybody's hot and sweaty and all this stuff. Yes. But like I said, don't ignore our media platforms. Don't ignore our media. I mean, what do you think is going to happen if the investment is only going to conservative hate talk, to conservative divisive talk, to Coke money purchased talking points and Coke money purchase? Honestly, what good could come of it? I keep on saying this. So here we are, not taking any corporate dollars. Here we are, a 501c3, a not-for-profit, enterprise here, doing independent media, giving you actual facts, citing our sources, showing you the system is broken and rigged, and trying to fix it all by ourselves. And that is why, if you've never donated before, today is your day. Today is the call, the clarion call to support independent media. Media that doesn't take any political dollars. Media that does not take corporate money. Media that does not read corporate talking points. Media that exposes that is actually happening with other media. Become a sustaining donor. How's that? Just do $10 every single month or $15 every single month. I mean, just a recurring little donation. If you could do a big one, do it. Do it recurring, okay? All you got to do is dial the phone, 877-378-8669, and talk to somebody in Denver, Colorado. That is where Free Speech TV is based, out of Denver, Colorado. And like I said, we are not-for-profit, 501c3, Free Speech TV is. You can do it online at freespeech.org/donate and choose to make it recurring right there on the website. Or you can talk to a person who could walk you right through the process of giving every single month so that we know we can, budget ourselves accordingly. Okay. So that's a good thing to do today. 877-378-8669. Now, I want to show you something. This is pretty amazing. Okay. Elizabeth Warren actually had as a witness at her hearing, okay, Abigail Disney, who is heir to the Disney fortune. She's a doctor, Dr. Abigail Disney, and she is on our side. She understands the system is rigged. She understands that she grows her wealth every single year tax-free because of a rigged system. So Elizabeth Warren asked her if she would be sworn in and testify, and she agreed. She agreed because it's all just so broken. And apparently Dr. Disney's American dream includes an America where children are not sleeping on the street. It includes an America where you have a toothache, you can get it tended to, regardless of your financial situation, where you need health care and it's there for you. That's her American dream. God love her.
Our tax system is broken. Everywhere you look, there is one set of rules for most Americans and a different set of rules for the richest people. One of the most glaring examples of this is how the tax code treats wealth. The typical white family has about $188,000 in wealth. For Black and brown Americans, that number is far lower, just $36,000 for Latino families and $24,000 for Black families. So let's just focus for a minute on what wealth looks like at the top. Let me start here. Dr. Disney, if you don't mind my asking, how much wealth do you have and how much did it grow last year?
I have about $120 million, maybe more, depending on how the stock market is on any given day. It grows at about 4 to 8% annually.
Okay, thank you. And so let's just say, you said 4 to 8%, let's just say an average growth of about 6%. That would mean that your wealth grew by about $7 million last year. That is almost 60 times the total wealth of the typical American family. So let's just for a minute talk about that increase. Do you know how much in taxes you will pay on your $7 million increase in wealth this year, Dr. Disney?
Not that much. It comes not from wages, but from things like dividends and capital gains and interest and so forth. So all of that qualifies for a lower tax rate than income.
All right. And what about your total $120 million fortune? How much do you think you'll pay in taxes on that this year?
Nothing. There's no wealth tax, so
why not?
Be taxed.
Yeah.
Nothing. How much will you pay on your $120 million? Nothing. There's no wealth tax. I don't pay. What is the solution? All right, here's Professor Dorothy Brown.
If you look at the lower end, what is now the lower end of rich in America, incomes, $400,000 and above, say $400,000 up to $2 million. Those people are mostly earning wages. Those are basically biweekly paychecks. There's withdrawals from them, and those people don't have any of those tools for escaping on a grand scale from a tax burden the way the ultra rich do.
So they do have some income from stock, which is taxed at a low 20% preferential rate, which is why Biden's tax plan, which would increase the rate on stock for those with greater than $1 million income, they will get hit by that. But yeah, their lion's share of their income is wages. So those rich people are paying higher taxes than significantly higher income Americans.
And Professor Brown, what in the Biden agenda, the legislative agenda, might address this?
Well, the first thing is the plan to increase taxation on income from stock, which is what a lot of the, Bezos and Musk and Bloomberg, they have a lot of income from stock, which is why their tax rates are so low. So Biden proposes if you have more than $1 million, your taxes on wages will be the same rate as your taxes on capital gains. But what this article tells us all is one of the things he needs to add is a minimum tax. Right? A real minimum tax, so that if you make $46 million like Bezos did, you can't get away with not paying taxes. So that's not currently in the plan, but hopefully after the Biden administration executives see this story, they'll realize it needs to be added.
Thank you, Dr. Dorothy Brown, or Professor Dorothy Brown. We're supposed to have an alternative minimum tax, okay? And if you make, through your hard work, over $1 million, yay for you, yay for you. But why should you be taxed more because you made it, you earned it through your work, than somebody who didn't work at all last year and only saw their wealth increase because of gains in the stock market? Why? Why would you do that to yourself?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
99% of Americans pay about 7.2% of their wealth in total taxes every year, but the top 0.1%, they only pay about 3.2%. The unfairness runs deep. Homeownership is the #1 way that most middle-class Americans build wealth, and those Americans pay property taxes every single year on that wealth. But if you are an ultra-millionaire or a billionaire, you have a million different kinds of assets: stock, paintings, diamonds, gold, cash, and you get to hang on to all of those assets as they appreciate without paying taxes. And if you decide to sell, you'll have an army of lawyers and an endless supply of carefully crafted tax loopholes to help you avoid paying taxes.
That is a corrupt, rigged system. That's what we are living with, and that is why people end up at the Capitol wearing tactical gear. They get infuriated at their own government. And what's crazy is that the party that's doing it to them is the party that is able to sell them on the idea that someone else is doing it to them. It is so corrupt. It is such a game. And this game is wearing people down. It's wearing people out. It's wearing people to the point where they will believe there is a pedophile ring responsible for a rigged tax code that is lobbied on every single day to squeeze even more loopholes out of it, to give to the people who pay these lawyer lobbyists to get these loopholes into the tax code so that our country can't even afford health care for everybody. We're the only industrialized nation that doesn't. Why do you think that is? Because our system is corrupt, and our system is rigged, and our system creates massive inequality. And no, it's never a wrong time to talk about it. It never is a wrong time to talk about it. I mean, this is so easily fixed.
I've proposed a tax on the wealth of the very richest Americans. This is a 2-cent tax on every dollar of wealth above $50 million and a few cents more on every dollar above $1 billion. It would raise $3 trillion in revenue that we could use to build economic opportunity for every person in America, from universal child care to investments in education to fixing our roads and bridges. The tax would be paid by the wealthiest 100,000 families, including yours, Dr. Disney. Poll after poll shows that Republicans, Democrats, and independents support this idea. Now, not everybody loves it. Leon Cooperman, a hedge fund billionaire who was hauled up before the SEC for boosting his fortune by using illegal insider trading, is one critic. He has described my 2-cent wealth tax as dumping on the American dream. I invited him here to make his case to Congress today, but I guess he prefers to stay in the safe space of financial news networks where he can say whatever he wants and nobody pushes back. Dr. Disney, you agreed to appear today, so let me ask you. If my wealth tax was the law, you'd own nearly $1.5 million on your fortune. Of course, you'd still be fabulously wealthy, and your wealth, which you said grew by about $7 million last year, would still have grown, but only by about $5.5 million. So let me ask, do you agree with Mr. Cooperman that this increase in your taxes would be, and I'm paraphrasing the word he used, dumping on the American dream?
Well, my American dream would be alive and well, because the only effect a wealth tax would have on me would be to slow the growth of my wealth. It won't be taking anything from me that I need. And my American dream also includes a lot of the people who aren't currently having the benefit of things like roads and schools and parks and good health care and so forth. So to me, it's part of the American dream to step up and pay my fair share.
That's what Warren Buffett says. That's what Jeff Bezos says. Of course, Jeff Bezos, and his Amazon warehouses and stuff like that, that is making him all this money, can go to the bathroom whenever he wants. But if you work on the floor in an Amazon, factory, you can't. You got to ask for a bathroom break, and let's put it this way. If French aristocrats, right before the French Revolution, were to look at the current system in the United States of taxation, they would say, damn, why didn't we think of that? Let them eat cake. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is just, if you ask these people about the rigged system, a good chunk of them would say, this is a rigged system and it needs to change. So why doesn't it change? Why doesn't it change? Because you got crazy people in this country who can be told that taxing fortunes above $50 million by 2 cents for every dollar over $50 million, or an alternative minimum tax, is socialism. Are you freaking kidding me? That's capitalism. Tom in Florida.
Randy, you're still the foxiest thing on free speech TV. This is Tom, Darlene's grandpa. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Hey,
Darlene actually got her hair cut exactly like yours.
Oh, no.
She's adorable. Yeah.
Does she like it? She likes it?
Yeah, she loves it. She looks great. We were talking the other day, speaking of Trump, she came up with a new one on I hadn't heard. She calls him the Orange Sphincter.
Orange Stinker?
Sphincter.
Oh, sphincter. Ooh.
No,
that's
it's
nasty.
a visual.
Yes, that's very good. Darlene, Darlene, I'm never going to get that out of my permanent Rolodex, Darlene. Why? Why?
I know. She told me another one. She said, you know how you can tell when you're talking to a Republican? I said, how? She goes, they cross their arms and say, you're trying to confuse me with facts.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean,
hey,
we're
one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're right at a precipice here. We really are. We're ahead of a midterm election. You've got states changing access to the ballot. You have, a Senate that is unable or unwilling to do the work they need to do, right? And people in this country are, wondering whether or not we can continue.
All right. Well, listen, another one thing I just wanted to lighten it up. You used to do Bounce My Boobies, and that was such a good beginning to the show. And when you smile, you look like a young Lisa Kudrow, which is gorgeous.
I see. All right. Well, thank you very much. Lisa Kudrow? I don't think so, but thank you, I think. I don't know. Lisa Kudrow?
I see where he's getting at.
I've never had a Lisa Kudrow. You know what he's watching? The Friends cast reunion is what he's watching. Yeah.
It was a little depressing. I forgot the actor's name, but they said, "Oh, we all keep in touch. We all stay together. We all, we stay in touch still." And the Matthew Perry, he just looked up with a very serious look and said, "Oh, none of you stay in touch with me. Nobody calls me."
Well, I think Matthew Perry has a little problem. I don't know. I've been watching some of the trailers, let's say, and Matthew Perry is like out of it. It's just observation. I don't know what it is. But David Schwimmer and by the way, the girls, you could tell the girls are still friends. You could just tell that they've always stayed in touch, always. And Lisa Kudrow is sort of not as close to Courtney Cox. Why do I know this? Is not as close to Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston as Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox are, because Lisa Kudrow has a family, and those two women, as gorgeous as they are, still looking for love. I don't know what that's about. I mean, come on. Jennifer, take a break from smearing the, a vino and go date somebody.
Her and Brad are talking again.
Oh, no. Oh, no.